committed to buying and owning Gaza. As far as us rebuilding it, we may give it to other states in the Middle East to build sections of it. Other people may do it through our auspices. But we're committed to owning it, taking it, and making sure that Hamas doesn't move back. There's nothing to move back into. The place is a demolition site. It'll be, the remainder will be demolished. Everything's demolished. I mean, you can't live in those buildings right now. They're very unsafe. But we'll make it into a very good site for future development.
Well, Donald Trump, I mentioned, he has stunned the world. I was watching that media conference this week where he talked about Gaza. So he's got a plan to take over, his words, the Gaza Strip. It's a very small strip of land, as we know, redevelop it. Now, here's a reminder of that announcement that I think shocked the world.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area.
Don't know about you, but Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu looking at Trump there, I'm not sure he knew that that's what the US President was going to say. So what does this plan actually mean? Let's break it down with Director of Strategic Analysis Australia, Michael Shoebridge. Michael, is this a typical Donald Trump, the deal maker, throwing out there a deal that he knows is never going to be pulled off to get everyone else then engaged in what to do with this problem?
Well, Steve, I think that's what it looks like, because it isn't a plan. You had that first grab of what he said initially. Overnight, he's clarified a couple of things. He said US troops won't be needed. And he's also said that the US isn't going to pay for the rebuilding. So somehow the US is going to own Gaza, but it's not going to pay for the rebuilding, and it's not going to secure it with US troops. I think the big effect of these Trump ideas is to strengthen Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu's hand in removing Hamas and giving Israel a continuing big security role in Gaza, whatever happens with the ceasefire.
So we've seen the horrendous pictures of what's left of part of Gaza, particularly that northern part. It's unlivable. I mean, there's no running water there. But the Palestinians and the Gazans in particular are very protective of that bit of dirt. I mean, you're not going to convince them, are you, to just simply pack up and head off to wherever, to Jordan or Egypt, even if Jordan or Egypt would have them?
Well, Jordan's already got 2 million Palestinian refugees out of a total population of 11 million. It's not going to take any more. None of the Arab states are going to take numbers of Palestinian refugees. They don't want that instability in their societies. And we know Australia doesn't want to take large numbers of Palestinians. So there's nowhere for them to go. But the other big thing to remember is, yes, there's a lot of destruction in Gaza, but whole cities were levelled in World War II. Dresden, Tokyo, Nagasaki. The population stayed and rebuilt. That's what the Palestinians want.
How are they going to afford to do the rebuild, and how are we going to judge whether Hamas has actually finally been defeated and run out of there, or are they simply going to crawl out of a couple of holes and start doing what they were doing before?
Well, this is where a lot of the virtue signalling from people around the world talking about we still want a two-state solution, but they're doing nothing to help it happen, is really exposed by what Trump has said. And nobody is stepping up to say, we will take Palestinians while Gaza's reconstructed, or we'll help reconstruct it. So we're kind of bogged, and I think the Trump plan mainly just gives Mr. Netanyahu license and power in the ceasefire negotiations.
Well, it seems that the ceasefire is holding. A lot of people thought that that might not be the case. What's your interpretation of where that's at?
I think it's made much more difficult because the Palestinian side of the negotiation is now completely off balance because of Mr. Trump's intervention. Then this next stage of the ceasefire, and remember the first 6 weeks ends in early March, is meant to be about negotiating the Israeli military's withdrawal. Well, President Trump talked about the Israeli military securing Gaza until the reconstruction starts.
Where does it leave Netanyahu? Does it, what happened in Washington 3 days ago, strengthen his hand, as you say?
Absolutely. It shows he's got the backing of the US president in having the Israeli military have a continuing security role in Gaza. And he's even got the Israeli defense minister saying he's instructed the Israeli military to make plans for voluntary departure of Gazans. So it's already strengthening Netanyahu's hand.